Alright, Rockstars, this is going to be an exciting day here in Scape and Run Parasites. So, with all the new weapons we have, I want to get a place we can use them before we're inside the base. So, a first line of defense, basically. To do that, what I want to do is collect up bedrock and turn this entire area into a bedrock field like we've talked about for explosives. But specifically, I want to build a bedrock fortress as our first line of defense. Something that we can hide in and get into without the parasites being able to access it anywhere whatsoever. So, this should be really good. So, we need a massive amount of bedrock to make sure this actually works. Plus, to build the actual box that we're going to be living in itself for this bedrock bunker. The whole point of this is so you can set up a first defense against the parasites when they do start invading, because we want to keep them pushed back as much as possible away from the base, which is our last line of defense no matter what. Plus, without having to spend a whole lot of extra time, we can really focus to see how the bedrock will play up against the parasites in a more direct way. And I think I've got a nifty idea to how to get in and out of this bedrock fortress without actually allowing the parasites to get in and out of it unless they can destroy bedrock. Okay, so we have a little over 5 stacks of bedrock, so let's see how far this really gets us. First up, we need to get this evened out. So we're gonna go out to here and try to flatten this out basically as much as possible, so we have a baseline, and then we'll extend out that way as much as we possibly will need. I'm also thinking about putting this up a few blocks like a bedrock wall for like a shield proof wall, so nothing over here gets destroyed by runaway explosive basically, because we don't want anything to happen to anything on the outside of the original base, otherwise protections will start to fall. I really need to start diving into Thaumcraft though, because those defensive weapons could look really good. And when we learned in the last episode or so, when our wolves turned against us, we saw that our sentries for whatever reason could not stand up to the parasites, or at least they had an area of effect that would delete them or kill them in some sort of range. I'm not exactly sure, but in case that happens with other types of parasites, we need to be prepared to have different defensive weapons, and Thaumcraft is so far the only thing we have with any other turret type-esque weapons. We also need to continue working on our Tinker's Construct weapons, mainly a ranged weapon like the bow we worked on, because that could have some massive just straight up pierce or one-shot damage, so single target damage, which could be really good for some of the bigger bosses. At least now that we have the smeltery set up, we can actually do a lot more work on it. I just need to do some research to figure out what is the best set of materials to build a bow and how that works. While Thaumcraft is something completely different. It's a magical base mod pack if I'm right, if I believe correctly, and I've never really touched a magical base mod pack before. Okay, well, the a little over 5.5 stacks or 5 in stacks, so got us just about to fill in what we had already outlined, so that is not very good. But since we're building this out of bedrock and we have a good amount of space between the base itself, we can use TNT to go ahead and blow up and clear out a whole bunch of this extra land, especially to get rid of these mountains that are in the way from creating a flat open area where we can easily battle the parasites. Because as much as we might want to, we're not going to be able to fly around them the entirety of the time once our ranged weapons become ineffective. Plus, no matter what, most of our melee weapons like this sword, which has 20 attack damage, and we have like 3 tiers still to make above this, which is way stronger, are all physical attack damage up in close range. They do the most damage, so we're gonna have to be prepared to use those. Alright, well, that's all the TNT we have for now. Let's go ahead and light a couple of these puppies up and make sure we get all these to explode. Oh, baby, let's see how well this does. Please just don't destroy this inner wall. That is all that I ask. Oops, it destroyed some of the glowstone, but that's fine. See, it might look like more of a mess now because it's just more crumbly and harder to walk over, but now we don't have to worry about digging all that land up, so when we place down the bedrock at this level, well, let's go mine a lot more bedrock all over again, because we are clearly nowhere near finished with this. Okay, so now that we've got an entire space and a protection wall set up, we need to build the actual bunker itself. So this is my nice little entrance. Something the parasites technically shouldn't or should have trouble getting into is just I fly into here and I have a nice spot I could just fly up into the base. Okay, so I think we're gonna make the base from that corner to this one, and we're gonna build it out here. Now we do want some little corners and peeky holes because we want to be able to shoot weapons out of it. We just need to make sure that we have enough stuff and enough space to protect us while we're in here. Okay, so as long as we don't mess with the heights, we should be able to look out at a basic level view, and it should give us almost everything that we do need. So if we just double up on the ring here, that will give us the basic layer that we can use to actually, you know, shoot out of. Then from there we can design the rest of the place, because that will give us kind of the idea of what we have and how much space we have to work with. The next thing we need to worry about is giving ourselves a little headspace and possibly a way to get out of here if we need to shoot above, or having a second level. But we also need to make sure we have space for turrets. Okay, I don't know if we'll leave these 2 pillars here or not for like a marker, but for now this is going to be our entrance up and down, and we should have a pretty easy time with that. So now we just got to fill this in and decide how we want to roof the above the second floor so we can actually have space for turrets as well as protection. Okay, so at this point we have the basics down for the outside bunker, but there's a few things I want to get done. First of all, explosives obviously, but we're going to do those last. I need to get some lasers, some quicksand, and these sentry turrets that we have inside on the outside. See, this is just too perfect of a setup to not try to use a double layer of quicksand here. I want layers on the outside skirts of this to protect things that get too close. And then we'll still have things like barbed wire and explosives, obviously, to finish up the rest. Alright, so I've got this trench dug out, so we're gonna go ahead and fill this up with quicksand. This will stop a lot of the little ones. It may even stop some of the slightly bigger ones, like long arms or spiders, depending on if they fit in a too wide one. But 3 deep is definitely deep enough to get anything suffocating in here that should come at us on the ground, so we shouldn't have an issue with that. This is gonna be really good for those. So next up, what I want to do is this little space here on the inside, I want to surround that with lasers. That way, anything that can fly, you know, right above the quicksand or my original shots, if I'm not on the second floor, can get either zapped by the sentry turrets or the lasers protecting the wall on the inside. We don't want the lasers in front of us, otherwise we're going to be blinded by them, so we won't be able to see to actually defend ourselves. Alright, so to get these lasers set up, we shouldn't have too big of a deal. The question is, you know, I think I want to mine this out, because the laser blocks are quite strong. They're not as strong as Bedrock, but I'm not super worried about them breaking from explosives. So I'm going to go ahead and put these guys right here as well. Then obviously we need one on each set of the corners. So this way we'll have lasers around the top level of absolutely every single side. And I do believe if I apply the smart module to these things, it should help them actually activate. Alright, it's activated one set, but it doesn't activate the other sets because they're not actually attached to it. Okay, so I just need a couple more lure modules, or smart modules, I mean. Here's the issues with the lasers that we can't really get around. They can only have 4 blocks in between each laser beam, otherwise they don't actually work. But otherwise we'll still have that laser there, so it's still gonna work really well. Just not quite as perfectly covered as we would like it to be, but we can only do so much. But at least now that we got the lasers up on this second floor, that should be good to go. So let's get these good old turrets set up overall. So technically we could just fill in every single one of these slots, but I feel like that's gonna be a bit repetitive and annoying, and they're only gonna do so much no matter what we do. I prefer to keep at least 3 per corner type of rule. It usually seems to work really well. Plus it keeps that, you know, good old symmetry that I absolutely just love. All the sentry guns are set up and everything, so that leaves us with the intelligent munition systems, claymores, plus the 2 different barbed wires we have. I think the first thing we do is layer the outside of certain areas with barbed wire type style, one that we would put on more like a fence, while this other one is more like a natural barbed wire fence itself already. Let's also put one of these below the layer of lasers as well, so even though we might not have anything else here, we still have the actual razor here instead of lasers. Okay, so these things are a little bit different because it's like a fence, so these will technically block our view and our bullets if we're shooting out of here, so we gotta watch how we want to set this up. I'm assuming these are gonna get destroyed pretty easily, so I think what I want to do is we're gonna keep these a single layer high, but just surround the outside of different layers, so this way we can still shoot over them, but they actually still are quite effective. Plus it will slow any parasites down because they'll have to break through and destroy the item or the block before they can actually get to any farther and closer to us. There we go. Everything is set up except for the explosives now, so this looks really good and I'm happy about it. So now I'm going to take the claymore, since they're very directional, and we're going to set them more on the outside. Oop, I put that in the wrong direction. I guess let's test to see if the explosion radius, and it didn't blow up the fences and obviously didn't blow up the concrete, so that, or concrete bedrock, so that works. Honestly, I think just making a massive square out of claymores might be the absolute first step. So there we go. So now look, we just have a massive center ring around everything. Now for these guys, we want to keep these guys way out here because they'll follow the parasites, but we especially don't want them flying into destroying all the turrets and lasers and whatnot. So we're going to keep these guys on the edge. Well, I think that concludes it. We have everything we wanted to build for our bunker base that we can get into, but our main defense is set up. So now we have a great place that we can actually just attack parasites from, be completely safe, absolutely perfect. So if you guys did enjoy, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys all next time, Rockstars. Peace.